Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today we have a 6-game NBA slate breakdown here on DraftKings for Wednesday night. You guys already know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. Going to be breaking down the last few games here of the regular season. Then obviously the play-in tournament, playoffs, all the good stuff. PrizePicks will be coming back for the playoffs, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Hit that like button, subscribe. Let's jump right into it. And if you guys haven't played NBA DFS, during the last week of the regular season, it's pure chaos. Expect people to get ruled out randomly. Expect people to get ruled in. Expect just absolute chaos. Your lineup to get absolutely destroyed because you get screwed over by Popovich or some other team here that's tanking. And it's just the most frustrating week, but it's also the most fun if you do get it right. So I'm going to try to help you guys navigate the waters here and jump into this first game here. As you can see, already pure chaos with the Memphis side. Triple J, Desmond Bane. It's not 100% confirmed. Obviously, you always got to wait for the injury news to confirm who's in or out, but they pretty much said that they're going to lean towards not playing both of them. Wouldn't be surprised if Williams gets, grouped into that bucket, a guy who's been out the past 15 games. I don't see the need to rush him back. I mean, they have enough players I think you need 8, I believe, to kind of field a team and not, obviously get in trouble and not be able to play. And they have it. They have that, GG 1, Pippen 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they have 9 people. I think they're just going to roll with that. And with that in mind, obviously GG, Pippen Jr., and Goodwin look like the best kind of plays here for this Memphis side. They're all too cheap here in their roles. GG's going to be like the main star there, kind of the main playmaker scorer. Main scorer, not playmaker. Pippen Jr. and Goodwin are going to the main playmakers, but they are both, aggressive, and in this terms, they're good enough offensively where they'll both be pretty aggressive offensively. I mean, there's a lot of usage to go around, so I expect them to be options, 2A, 2B, GG Jackson to be option A. Obviously, going against Cleveland, not the best matchup, but they're super cheap and they're going to be having all the usage. So all three of those guys look really, really good here. Obviously, we do want to kind of wait for the starting lineup, but expect them to get a lot of run here between those three. So I'm just going to throw them in for now. Obviously, the rest of the team here, Brandon Clark, don't expect big minutes from him. Coming back from injury, he's been floating around that 23-minute mark. Starting tonight, I would assume it's going to be the same. I don't think they're going to rush him back with, from injury, play him 25, 30-plus minutes. And unless we randomly got that news, I think we, kind of stay away from him at 5,100. Pereira here, playing solid minutes, shooting the ball only 6 times, 10 times and 9 times here. But he's a double threat. As you can see, past 3 games, he's gotten close to 30 minutes, if not more. He's had 8 rebounds, 9 and 11. So if you're looking for a cheaper play here, 4,800, guy should see around 30 minutes. Wish he shot the ball a little bit more, but when he's the 4th, 5th option, not going to have a ton of chances. So you really need that double upside. And at 4.8, definitely pretty solid play there, salary point rise. Jemison, expect him to either be the starting center or the backup center here. I think he's a fine play. Does have some double upside there. I'd rather get to the other guys. There's going to be a lot higher usage. And in this matchup, going against Mobley, Jarrett Allen, just going to be a tough matchup there for Jemison. More of a fade for me. And then Xavier Simpson, a guy who is pretty productive, more so just a playmaker, not the best at scoring. As you can see there, that last game, he was pretty aggressive, 4 of 12. So I do like him. Once again, we do have to wait for the starting lineup here, but a lot to like here in terms of the guards. I do think the main one that you can definitely lock in and feel safe with is GG Jackson, who's going to be super aggressive throughout the season. Timmy Allen, I think they just signed him. I don't expect a lot from him. And then Giroux, kind of the same thing. It seems like the 4th, 5th guard option off the bench. So not a lot of interest there. Moving on to Cleveland here, obviously huge blowout risks. But if it's one of those things where, you're going to be playing multiple Grizzlies guys, maybe they keep it close enough for these guys to get to value. I really don't have interest in Mobley and Mitchell, as I kind of said, with a fully healthy team here for the Cavs. Finally, those 2 guys are pretty much the only ones I have interest in, just because of their upside. Mitchell's going to be the main star, and then Mobley just has a lot of upside with the blocks, rebounds, and points, and even the assists at times. So, like them for the price tags. Moving on to Charlotte here. Everyone seems good to go in terms of kind of the stars playing, Bridges and Miller. We'll have to wait and see, but they're coming at cheap price tags here against Atlanta. So 7.9 for Bridges and Miller definitely looks way too cheap here, even though they have been, not as good as they were kind of during the middle stretch of the season where Bridges was going off for like 45 a game. Miller was, pretty much up there with him as well. They've really slowed down offensively. I mean, they're just a brutal offense right now, but you get a great matchup versus Atlanta. So if you want to take shots on either one of them, they look like really, really strong secondary options. In terms of the guards, Micic and Man, going to split the kind of point guard role here. Micic is fine at 5'7". Same thing with Man. I just don't think there's a need to get them, especially with the just the guards on Memphis being the similar price and just way better plays. The rest of the team here, really, that's my only thoughts. I don't mind if you want to take a shot on Nick Richards, but as you can see, the minutes are not the best right now. So at 5,000, he's just an okay play, and that's really it. It's not a ton of interest here for the Charlotte side. Moving on to Atlanta here, Trae Young could be back. They still haven't, kind of disclosed if he'll be back or not for this game tomorrow night. Looks like they're playing tonight as well. So back-to-back, maybe he comes back. Who knows? Obviously, wait for the injury news there. But if he's still out, obviously, DeJounte Murray looks fantastic here as a spin-up play going against Charlotte. Even Jalen Johnson, 7-7. I mean, both these guys look fantastic. Jalen Johnson's a fantastic playmaker, as you can see, since coming back from injury. Has a huge upside there. So absolutely love both of them. That's really it. Don't have much interest in the rest of the team here. If you want to get to Bruno for a cheap value play, sure you can do that. But once again, if you're looking for cheap value, Memphis is going to be the team. Obviously, they're going to be super popular, but for good reason. Only 9 players, a ton of usage to go around, and they're all super cheap. So it makes sense just to absolutely load up on Memphis and then just get different with your spin ups in terms of ownership. Like there's a lot of different ways you can get and go to on this slate. For Toronto here, quickly ruled out tonight for rest. Might be back tomorrow. If he's back tomorrow, I think it's a pretty solid play. As you can see, 2 60 fantasy point games back to back against Milwaukee and only 12 shot attempts, and then against Washington with only 15. As you can see, has close to triple-double upside the past 2 games. Wouldn't always expect that. He's more so a scorer, but he's been really good at playmaking this season, kind of being the main point guard on the Raptors since he got traded. So good amount of interest there going against Brooklyn. Rest of the team here, obviously if quickly gets ruled out, then obviously Barrett, Olenek, Gary Trent are going to be your 3 kind of playmakers, scorers with no Quickly. But if Quickly is back, I'd really just prefer him. Don't really have much interest in any of these 3 other guys. And that's really it. Moving on to the Brooklyn side. For the Brooklyn side here, Cam Thomas is pretty much my only interest. I mean, going to shoot the ball a ton. That's really it. 7-7, not the best price tag, but he definitely has the highest ceiling. Mikal Bridges has been just god-awful. Absolutely god-awful. I played him a few times the past month, but it just hasn't really worked out. I did get this 44 fantasy point game against Toronto, I believe, with him. So it did work out once for me, but otherwise it's just gross getting into him. Now he's getting into a territory where he's definitely too cheap, but at the same time, it's just not been the same this season. So it's hard to really get into him with confidence. Claxton is probable for this game here. Don't mind taking a shot on him. If he sees 30 minutes, he definitely has some good upside. I think Schroeder still is the best play. Seen 30+ minutes, decently aggressive, definitely a solid playmaker as well. So he'd be the most interesting to me, and that's really it. Wofford's price is slowly creeping up. Minutes are kind of all over the place right now. So it really just kind of depends on, maybe they start tanking and just resting these older guys. Who knows? But right now, not a ton of interest here. Clowney's getting some decent minutes. If you want to take a shot on him as a value play for 1, definitely helps if they get blown out. But I don't know if there's going to be a blowout here against Toronto, another really bad team. So right now, it's just going to be kind of all just fine if he plays for me. I really want to look to Brooklyn right now, unless you're kind of looking at Clowney down there as a cheap value, depending if he gets ruled into the starting lineup or if someone gets ruled out. Moving on to Dallas here, I'm sure Luka will be a really popular spin up on a slate where there's not a ton of spin ups. 12-8, we know what Luka is. Kyrie always a great pivot option off of him. Now he's like, if you're gonna go with Luka, I don't mind pairing Gafford with him, just because he's one of those guys. If Luka has a good game, usually Gafford does as well, just because of Luka's playmaking ability to throw lobs and just attract a lot of defenders. So that's my thoughts there. Axon's been getting more minutes recently, so that's something to keep an eye on. If you want to take a dart throw there, don't really expect him to be this, kind of productive when he's out there. But a 4-2 guy that could see mid-20s, possibly 30+ minutes, with it, depending on how he's playing, he's definitely there. And that's really it. Kleber's getting priced up, playing decent minutes, so he's a fine value if you want to take a shot on him. kind of scoring dependent at times, but seeing 20 minutes, 3.9, he's there. Moving on to Miami here. Still absolutely love the price tag on Jimmy at 8.2. Even with Tyler Hero back, I think Jimmy looks great. Tyler Hero, if there's no minutes limit, I do like him at 6.9. Now, if there's a minutes limit, I'd really only prefer Jimmy at his price tag. That's really it. I do think you could get to Bam at 8.5. Feels a little bit forced. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. These three guys are going to lead the teams in terms of usage, playmaking. Sure, could one of these guys have Jovic, Martin, Jaime, even Highsmith, or even Kevin Love? Either one of these guys, could pop off for a solid game here, but it's really just a dart throw. Once again, if you're looking for cheap value, Memphis is going to be your team. Moving on to San Antonio here. Victor looks like a great spin up as well. Cheaper option than Luka, similar ceiling. That's really it. It's not much else here for me on the Spurs side. They're just all pretty brutal, pretty bad. And they're just not as good as playmakers or scorers as a guy like the Memphis guys are. Now, Devontae Graham is seeing some more run. So if he starts, I wouldn't mind going to him at that price tag. Moving on to OKC here. Obviously, there's blowout risk, but SGA 10-1 is just way too underpriced. So let's just get him in here real fast. We'll get GG back in here. And I'm just throwing them in this lineup. This is not how I'm going to order them. And obviously, waiting for the injury news. This could all change. But moving back over to OKC here, yeah, SGA looks way too cheap. That's really it. I mean, sure, Chat, pretty cheap there at 7.2. Hasn't been playing the best. Jalen Williams, still pretty solid at 7.3. Obviously, Giddey's kind of taking over. It's been pretty productive recently. As you can see here, there's been some games where SGA has missed, which has obviously helped out a ton. But yeah, right now, SGA is just way too cheap. And I think my second favorite option would be Chet at 7.2. And then moving on to the last game here, Orlando versus Milwaukee. Paolo at 8.4 is definitely way too cheap here, especially with the addition of Franz Wagner possibly being out. He's out tonight, could be out tomorrow. That just means even more usage and playmaking to go to Paolo there. So absolutely love him in this matchup against Milwaukee. And then, as you can see here, there's a lot of cheap options. So I do like targeting Orlando as kind of the second best team to get some cheap options from. Now, the offense is not really going to funnel to a few different guys. It's going to be going through Paolo and then kind of spread out. I expect Jalen Suggs to kind of be that secondary scorer, the secondary aggressive guy. The issue is now we kind of have to deal with, choosing between Goodwin, Scottie Pippen Jr., Suggs, kind of those cheap value guards. I'd slide Suggs in over possibly a guy like Goodwin, depending on who starts and who doesn't. Obviously, I think Suggs starts, but in terms of Goodwin starting or not, that's kind of going to be the pivot play there. And you do have to factor in ownership, which obviously should help you, determine who you want to go to. On off the bench, we'll see Cole Anthony there play decent minutes. Jonathan Isaac is there as well. But right now, I think my favorite, plays would probably be obviously Paolo, Jalen Suggs, and then I don't mind taking an absolute dart throw on Fultz, who's, as you can see, past 2 games, seen solid minutes, been aggressive, and been decently productive for his price tag. That's really it. It's kind of more so wait and see what they do with the starting lineup here. But right now, just kind of wait with Paolo, go with Paolo, and then possibly go to Suggs. And then moving on to this last team, Milwaukee. Not the best matchup. Obviously, Orlando's still pretty good at defense. They're still a pretty slow-paced team. But, Giannis is Giannis. Dame is Dame. And then even Middleton at 7.6 feels a little bit too cheap. Now, it really depends. He's available for tonight's game against the Celtics, a back-to-back. He could definitely get ruled out. If that happens, it makes obviously Dame and Giannis way better plays. But that's really my focus is these main 3 guys. Even if Middleton's out, Dame and Giannis still look great. Even if he's in, they still look great. And Middleton's a solid secondary option if he plays normal minutes. And that's my kind of thoughts there. So, as I said, expect more chaos to happen. This is recorded, extremely early in the night. I would assume maybe 2 or 3 games have started. I think there's like a 12-game slate tonight. So definitely don't rush into making lineups. As I always say, check the injury news tomorrow. Kind of confirm an hour, 30, 15 minutes before the slate starts. Who's in, who's out. As you can see here, it's only a 6-game slate, so we'll get most of the news before the slate starts. And then I'd say just build with, 3 of the main Memphis guys. And then in terms of, spin ups, I think SGA is my favorite just because he's the cheapest. And then I'm leaning towards going with Victor over Dame and Giannis. Now, ownership will kind of play into that. If Dame and Giannis, or excuse me, if Giannis and Luka are higher on the Victor, I'll go with Victor. If Victor's high owned, then and then SGA are high owned, then Luka and Giannis, I'll go with the lower owned. You guys get it. I'll go with the lower owned of the star 4 and kind of go from there. But I also do like factoring in Paolo. So I don't know if I'll be able to get to 2 of those stars, more so 1, and then Paolo as well. So this is kind of what I like starting off my lineup with. Ton of injury news, as I said. Make sure to hit that like button. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.